With the S&P 500 closing at another record high, we thought it might be time for a little Mission Impossible.
Oh.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it. With the S&P trading at a forward PE of around 17, find value amid the raging Trump trade. With many stocks cheap for a reason, how do you know if you're buying a stock that's a value trade or a value trap?
Oh.
Well, luckily, we've got a game for that. Of course we do. So I'm going to give the traders a name, and they're going to say if it's a value trade or a value trap. It's very straightforward. Hopefully no confusion tonight. Guy, we will start with you. And Apple, which is up 30% this year, a forward price to earnings ratio of 16.5. Value trade or value trap?
Well, the first thing you said was, oh, if you choose to accept it.
Or if you understand the game.
Or if I understand the game.
Which I think is the one was more relevant for you.
So if I say I don't choose to accept it, you just move on and we don't.
Yeah. Then you don't play.
So I got to choose to. So in other words,
just
play the game, guy.
Can you just tell me
value? It's not a value trap. And listen, I'm not going to pretend, and I've said this for a while. I haven't been some raging bull. Been bullish over the years, bearish over the years, wrong, right. But I'll say this: you mentioned 16.5 times. If you back out cash, or if you add cash, it's even lower than that in terms of valuation. And as they get to more of a services business, as revenue continues to grow in that field, now 19% of overall revenues, I think they deserve a bigger valuation. What's a bigger valuation? Maybe an 18 sort of a market multiple gets you a $241 stock. I think Katie Huberty at Morgan Stanley has a $241 price target, and that's the math. So if you think another 20 bucks is within reach, I say value.
Well, but that's the question, right? Are we going to get some growth out of this? Because right now, the reason, in my view, that it is priced the way it is, it's effectively a utility, right? You're going to continue to buy your phone every couple years. You're going to pay your bill. It's likely the last thing you're going to get rid of in a recession or anything like that. So it trades similar to a utility. I think that's probably why Warren Buffett likes it, right? He likes to buy things that don't change. Sure it is. It trades like that.
No. It's a consumer products company masked as a technology company. And therefore, I agree with Guy, but it's not a value trade relative to itself. It's very expensive relative to itself, which means it has to be treated differently. And again, I think this is a consumer products brand. We know about the services business.
Does that mean it's a value trade or a value?
I just wanted to tell Brian I didn't think it was a utility company. I thought that was, not really the greatest.
That was great.
Analogy.
Is there a graphic that fires when he says value trap?
It does. If somebody says something definitively, it will fire. But so far, only Guy has said definitively
what we were talking about, right?
Do we have a button for a utility?
We don't have buttons for everything under the sun.
We should have buttons.
What do you think it is? A value trade or a value trap?
Sounds like a trap.
On a trappish side.
I'll go on the trappish side. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
We need someone to say trap, Brian.
It's not that exciting to me.
It's a trap for Brian.
Trade. Oh, trap. Yes, trap. That's the one.
Thank you.
Such a simple
That services business is a $30 billion number now. I don't know how you can argue that this is anything but a value trade with Apple. And what was really important is that Guy's talking about 200 and what'd you say, 240 bucks?
241 to be exact.
241. We were just talking about that number that gets you to $1 trillion, and now everyone.
You have to believe in the growth of the services business for you to believe that it's a value trade.
No, I think that it is a business where there is a refresh cycle, where it's still dependent on iPhone sales, but I think that services number is increasing dramatically, enough to offset whatever dependence they had on the actual hardware.
All right, Walmart's the next stock. This one is for BK. Walmart's down 3% on the year. Forward PE of 20, but surging of late. So value trade or value trap?
So I'm going to go with value trap on this. And this is a name I liked last year. And this is more of a, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull in a would you rather. It's more of because I would rather be in Target. Primarily because Walmart 20 times, trading at 20 times next year. They've gone through their transition. Yes, they're doing capital spending. It is getting traction. But Target is just starting. They're trading at 15, 16 times next year. Also, I get a better dividend. So to me, Walmart is the trap. Target is the trade, value style.
A game within a game, like a turducken.
Multiple, very meta.
I'm going to be very clear on this. Absolutely value trap. Walmart relative to itself, long-term history, it's a value trap. Relative to the other players that you're trying to actually compare it to, I think even Amazon looks cheap relative to Walmart, relative to itself. So what I mean by that is people are calling this a tech company, et cetera, et cetera. Look, I like the fact that their online business is able to compete. Of course it does. They are competing with about 5 other major competitors in the U.S. and everyone globally.
But they're the only one who can compete.
Market.
They're the only one who can compete with Amazon.
The stock's way too expensive.
I think that the people that say that Amazon is too pricey on whatever valuation don't get to say that with Walmart. Walmart has proven to be the only competitor to an Amazon, and I think that they're in the target scope right now, which is a little short-term weakness. Ultimately, it's a value trade.
The point that Tim is making is that compared to itself, the PE looks rich, the forward PE looks rich right now. So you're making the case that you need to re-rate the stock.
I think you need to re-rate it. I think there's growth ahead.
Multiple.
I think that you could see an expansion you could see multiple expansion because they're where you're going to see growth, and no one associated Walmart with a growth name.
You know what? I can't believe I'm about to say this because I've been on BK's side, and I happen to agree with BK, but I say it's value, and why I know
value trade.
Value
That's it, right, Guy.
What did I say wrong?
You just said value.
Value trade.
Thank you.
Is there a graphic that?
And it's a fast pitch too, by the way.
Yeah,
we're going to do one later.
We're going to do a power pitch later, but it's not going to be Walmart. And I'll say that their comps were up 4.5% in the U.S. It was the best in like 14 years, and groceries were the best comps in 9 years. So maybe the value, maybe the PE won't go higher, but maybe one component of that, maybe the profits or the earnings component will continue to go higher. So maybe they'll have the same valuation with growing earnings, which means the stock can go higher.
All right.
Who knows?
Next up. Goldman Sachs down 5% this year, trading 10 times earnings. Tim.
Well, I think Goldman is a value trade. Can we stamp that and get it out of the way?
Is that right?
Oh, now look who's demanding.
Good point, Tim. All right. So look, bottom line here, price to books trade around 1.5 times, but that's not really how you're assessing this. I think the entire financial sector has been under a lot of pressure. We know it trades cheap to the rest of the GICs, as we say. I think Goldman is a place that people are still waiting to see how they operate in a new world order. I think that new world order really helps Goldman Sachs. Less regulation. These guys are financial engineers. I want to own Goldman at this level.
Your beloved Goldman Sachs guy.
It is beloved to me.
Called a trap by Tim.
No, he didn't say it. He didn't say it was
trade.
a trap.
Sorry.
You're now playing the game wrong. You got to pay attention. Tim said value trade. The graphics.
I went out of my way to make that clear.
You're right.
And he
You're
said
right.
it right
You're
at
right.
the top of the show. No, I agree. I'm kidding. No, I think it's all about price to book. You know, I think I was talking to Tim earlier. 194 was the book value last quarter. You put a 1.8 multiple on that, which is to me reasonable in this environment. You have a $350 stock. It's not going there tomorrow, but I think if it gets anywhere close to where JP Morgan is trading in terms of price to book, the stock is a buy.
It's hard to argue that it's not a value trade. I mean, for all the
you're
things
here
I
to do
just
that,
said,
Steve.
I should argue with it, but I can't argue with it. It is a value trade, but it might take some time. I don't think we're in the era or the seasonality for financials to perform. So I think it's going to take a little more time, but I think
Would
you cannot argue.
Would you buy this stock?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, I'd give it a little breathing room. I don't think
Well, then that
financials
sounds
are
like
where
a
you want
trap
to
to
be.
me. I actually do
It
think
sounds like a trap.
right.
You're saying
Right.
the
I think Mel
multiple
drew him
is
out.
low, you know, but it might take a
chopped him into
long
it.
time for the stock to
love how
work
he
out.
converted.
That
Really
doesn't sound
convicted
like,
with the value
you
trade.
know?
Total
So
turncoat.
I would call it a
Benedict
trap, though,
Arnold.
for exactly the reasons that Steve was saying. So to me, there's got to be several things that go right for Goldman to go higher. Maybe we need more volatility. Maybe we need a melt up and you get some more M&A. Every piece of their business has to go better here. So I think it's fine, but to me, just buying it here without seeing any traction there, it's a trap.
Can I try to get BK onto our side of the ledger?
Okay, go ahead.
Quickly, I'm just going to say one.
Yeah.
They have a cryptocurrency desk, BK.
They do have a cryptocurrency
That's what I'm
desk.
talking
Yes,
about.
exactly.
It's a very small
portion of the desk, though.
It's a very small portion of what they're doing. But, you know, it does get me excited.
All right.
Look at them.
Last but not least, Micron, up 27% this year, trading at 4.5 times earnings. Steve, what do you say?
This is sort of an easy one. It's dependent on DRAM pricing. And if you look back to May, it's made a series of lower highs. This is DRAM. I think that ultimately there will be a flood of DRAM on the market. You might get a quarter, but it is a value trap to me.
Who agrees with Grasso?
I do.
You do?
I agree. Value trap. And I know that's easy. I'm kind of disappointed Steve was out there with that because I think that's a contrarian view. People look at Micron, they look at that multiple, and they look at some of the other semis, and they say, oh, wow, this company is very, very cheap. But if DRAM is arguably under some pressure and NAND is rolling over, I don't want to own the stock right now. And we've seen this with Micron. At times when people are questioning the commoditized portion of their business, get out of the way. I'm out of the way.
I'm going to throw a
Would you
wrinkle in
rather?
this whole
Would you
thing.
rather?
No.
Oh,
I'm going to pull out
A
something
game
that
within a
wasn't
game?
Right.
on the initial rundown. The S&P 500, value trade or value trap? Because that's what the folks at home are thinking right now with the S&P at records. Guy Adami, what do you say?
If rates are going to rise, and this is a point Tim's made, I think it gets the S&P 500 is getting expensive, and that's not a reason to go out and sell the market. I mean, markets can get more expensive. We've seen that before, but I think it's more value trap here than value. My opinion.
Well, here's my view. I think that we could have a melt higher.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's value. There's a value in it, but I do think that the market could melt higher. So I would just trade it, I think, without the value part. Can I do that?
Trade.
Can I split it up?
We don't have the graphics, but you can verbally say that.
I mean, I am a Wall Street guy. I can tranche it. Trade.
It's got
to be a value trade. If you think it's going up, it's got to be a value trade. And I do believe there's going to be a performance chase going into year end. We have a bunch of targets in the S&P. Earnings are intact. Consumer confidence is at 18-year highs. Everything that you look at as any other metrics is bullish for the market. It's a value
I think
trade.
that you can believe that it goes higher without it being a value here.
So how would we do that, Mel? Because I'm trying really hard to play the game, and I don't know how to do that. Because I think it's going higher.
Is that what you think, though?
I think, look, I want to say value trap, because I think ultimately the S&P in a rising rate environment is going to see a multiple contraction. However, I think relative to itself, the S&P is actually very attractive because we are in a very strong earnings season, and I think there's more momentum to go. I think the market is higher between now and year end, except for the fact that I think key metrics are very expensive.